section of our report. And as some of you know, we have the new software release measurement tool for angio flow. It's called Angio Analytics. And I'd like to show you how to acquire a qualified and good image with AngioView. Not all of you are using Angio OCT today, so this is a very basic principle of the Angio OCT. As you can see, no matter what method we use, solder, OMAC, phase variance, speckle variance, the basic principle is almost the same. It's the motion contrast detection. So the software, the OCT, is trying to capture the motion from the blood cell inside the vessel. Just take this video clip, for example. On the left is the video of the water flowing outside from the salt faucet, and on the right, I just remove all the static parts of the sink, the faucet, and to keep only dynamic information, such as the flow of the water. So the same principle, all of the OCT techniques use this motion contrast detection to get visualization of the blood flow. But what technique makes AngioView successful? I'm confident to say this because today we have sold more than 550 units worldwide, and we have released this device 1 year ago, so way ahead of other competitors. Of course, we have a lot of technique to make this happen, but due to the limitation of time, I just address two major parts. One is the solder, and the second part is MCT. So this is solder. Solder, if we take a look at the solder, it stands for split spectrum amplitude declaration angiography. So if I remove the first S of the term is spectrum amplitude declaration angiography, that's a full spectrum. But what we did is to split one spectrum into a couple of times, and the result is less noise, as you can see over here. That in the full spectrum, some noise, background noise everywhere, especially in this avascular zone, you can appreciate some white spots inside the vascular zone. That is not true of signal of the flow, but the noise. But within the solder, the contrast is pretty good inside the vascular zone and background. And you can appreciate these small capillaries, more continuous microvascular network. And another benefit is less acquisition time or bigger size. But how did this happen with solder? Let's take a look at this picture. What do you think of this picture? It's a nice picture. The image quality is good, right? And resolution is also good. But actually, this is not one picture. Two pictures. I put them together. I take one picture and cut half and keep the half of the picture. On the left is the BNP image in BNP format. The resolution is more than 5 megapixel, and the capacity, the size of the file is about more than 11 megabytes. And on the right, it's JPEG. It's format in JPEG, the same resolution, identical image quality, and the capacity is only 1 megabyte. So it's 1/10 of the size of the BNP. So JPEG is an algorithm of the compression of the size, compression of the capacity, but still keeps very good image quality. But instead of compression of capacity, solder compress the time, not compress the quality. Is it possible? Is it time compressible? I'm not talking about the dark hole or wormhole time traveling, but actually yes, we can compress time. This is how we acquire SADA image. Of course, just like the rest of the OCT angiography technology, we take multiple scans in one position, right? In the beginning, for SADA, we take 8 scans in one position. And then we split one spectrum into 4. I mean, in the very beginning, into 4. But today, with the improvement of the algorithm, we take only 2 scans in one position. That's the maximum limitation because we need to find out the motion contrast. So it is impossible to take only 1 scan in one position. So 2 repeat OCT scan in one position, and we split one spectrum into 11. So we have 11 pairs of the scan. We can put them together, compare and find out the motion contrast. So in this way, we can get the result equivalent to 12 pairs of individual scans in one position. So that's why we can make SADA so fast. So we take 2 scans only, but we get more than 11 pairs of scan information. If we do a simple calculation, it's 6 times faster. So with SADA, our the Avanti, it's 70K base scan per second, and but equivalent to times 6, it's about 400 kilohertz OCT. It's not commercialized yet. So even with the fastest SSOCT available in the market, 100 kilohertz, is still not sufficient to achieve the same high quality because the more scan we take, the better image we can get because we need to more scan to different signal flow with background noise. So that's how we get SADA, split spectrum. It's patented from OHSU, Dr. Debbie Huang and Dr. Yani Jia. So advantage of SADA, we have a faster acquisition time, or larger coverage size, or higher image quality. Means if the same time, same acquisition time, same coverage size, we have higher image quality. Or if we have the same coverage size, same image quality, we have faster scan. Here's a sample. A clinical case, I believe it's a PRVO, and this is a scan from no SADA, not from Optovue, some other device, but it looks not bad, right? We can appreciate this enlargement of AZ and some small non-perfusion area. But how about the same patient with SADA? Now you can tell we can improve image with SADA. See, the image of the SADA on the top is better than the one on the bottom. We can find more small NPAs and more details in deep capillary plexus. Another advantage of our technique is called motion correction technology. We have tracking inside the system, but we use tracking for regular line scan, B scan. But we are not use tracking for angio-OCT scan. The reason is when we turn the tracking on, it takes more time because the machine, the device, try to track the eyeball, track the movement of the eye, so it takes longer than conventional scan. So what we do is take one set of horizontal scan and one vertical. Now with the MCT, it's licensed from MMT. With this MCT algorithm, we can correct the motion artifact from the horizontal or vertical scan, and then we get the information of this. This looks pretty good. And keep in mind, there's no tracking needed. So we haven't tracking activated, but still we can get very sharp and nice image. For example, again, the picture on the right from some other device it has no tracking or motion correction. So that's why you can see so many straight lines. And on the left, the imagery from Optovue with motion correction. It's way more better than the image on the right. So with motion correction and the SADA algorithm, now we have a very nice image quality and very fast acquisition time. Here are some tips of interpretation of our software. I believe most of the users are using OCT today. So I think it's important to know our software setting when we have the latest software. The first one is the Retina segmentation. Actually, this is the same as the previous version. From superficial, we take there are three very important boundaries. The first one is RLM, the second one is in the classification layer, the third one is the RP reference. So the superficial is from RLM to IPL. The second one is IPL beneath 15 micron to 70 micron. So in the deep capillary plexus, the thickness of the angial view is fixed. Right? And the outer retina from interclassification layer goes down offset 70 micron to RP reference goes down 30 micron. That then is the choroid capillaries, RPE 30 to 60. So this, the deep capillary and the choroid capillary, the thickness fixed. And this is the new setting of our angial disc segmentation, and not like the previous version. So the latest one is 2015, and that's our definition for nerve head. From top to RM goes down 150. And the vitreous is from top to RM, so give us information inside vitreous, not inside the disc. And that's RPC, I think that's the most important one. Used to be RM to 150, but today is RM to nerve fiber layer, the lower boundary of the nerve fiber layer. So that's the full thickness of the nerve fiber layer, the full information inside the NFL. The last one is choroid disc from RP to the bottom of the window. The segmentation is so important because angial OCT, the image we provide from angial OCT is relatively static, not like FAU or OCT is dynamic information. So it is impossible for angial OCT to adjust the time. We can use adjust time to interpret FA or ICG, but we have the possibility and the ability to adjust the depths. For example, this is a case of the CoCNV. The reason I call it a CoCNV is when we look into the segmentation of the image, you see this information comes from the beneath RPE and the between brush membrane. That's how we can make classification of the CNV. Another example is the RAP. You see it originates from the deep capillary plexus and connect to the superficial and walks down inside outer retina and into the choroid capillaries. These four segmentations, 4 layers, they are consecutive. So one layer adhere to each other. So we can get a 3-dimensional view of the information. But sometimes the lesion is not behave that good. So it may not stay put inside one given position. So like this, thanks to Dr. Strange. It's a very nice example. For example, on the left, this is the same patient. On the left, we can appreciate part of the neovascularization. But on the right, for vision on the CNV. The reason is we are setting the different segmentation. The thickness and the depth. So we can adjust not only depth, just keep in mind, we can also adjust the depth and the thickness of the slab. So try to utilize the device by adjust the segmentation. With our default setting, usually it covers most of the case, but when you want a best visualization of the pathology or lesions, try to adjust the segmentation. I will show you how to adjust the segmentation with the device. And some other matters needs our attention. We can cover from 2 by 2 millimeter to 8 by 8, right? It's 8 by 8 is very large size, but be careful with the large size because the sampling number of angio OCT is same. So for angio OCT, for AngioView is 304 scans in one cube. So which means larger the size, lower the resolution. Usually we can take the A by A to looking into the superficial layer, it's okay. But be careful with the deep capillary plexus, usually because these vessels or capillaries too thin, so when we have a very large size like A by A, sometimes we lost the detail inside the deep capillary plexus. And we need to know what is artifact. There are multiple artifacts, but do not worry because I can say almost all artifacts we can identify with correct interpretation. For example, what is motion artifact? The straight lines, straight white or gray lines, that's definitely artifact. Usually they are coming from motion artifact. Of course, the algorithm, the motion correction will remove most of the artifact from the image, but sometimes still we need, we can appreciate some straight line. That is motion artifact. And what is this? A black band walks through the image, not as thin as the motion artifact, the white one. That's usually coming from the big. So sometimes when you have the image like this, you need to make a decision whether you want to rescan or not. And in a few cases, we can get image like this. Duplication of vessels. Usually these information can, because of the excessive motions. Motions too much, so that's why we don't have even the MCT is not able to combine these images correctly. That's why we have duplication. And what is this? Of course, these are shadows. It's easy to interpret it. So this is not the diffraction or low flow. These coming from the big vessels from inner retina. The downside is perhaps it can block some signal beneath the big vessels, but I'm looking at the upside because with these shadows we can have orientation where we are looking at. That's the upside. So how about this? Look at here. We have many cases show for neuropathies or glaucomas, and this is a very nice image. You can see the RPC very well, but here is a defect of the blood flow. Is it dropout of the capillaries or something else? When we have the black signal or image in the angio flow, sometimes it's not coming because of the low flow or low perfusion. We just take a full view of the alphas and B scan. Right? For low perfusion, with case of low perfusion, the tissue is still there, so it should be signals inside the alphas image and the B scan. But in this case, it is dark even in the alphas and in the B scan. So that's the shadow from floaters, perhaps from the vitreous, or sometimes the dirt on the lens. So be careful with these dark signals. Always compare the image from angio with alphas and B scan. So that's how we can identify what is real non-perfusion or whether it's an artifact from floater or stents. And some other case, the shadow could be coming from the floaters, stents, or some other factors. For example, high density exudate, hemorrhage, high density hemorrhage. So always we can appreciate this dark area compared with the alphas and the B scan. We can identify these shadows. And yesterday, we have talked about the flow projection. Okay, this is a case of the CNV. Look at the superficial and deep capillary plexus, looks good. In the outer retina, there's some flow inside the outer retina. Yes, it is CNV. But this information comes from AngioView with with artifact removed. What if the artifact is still there? Just the image looks like this. That's the raw image, raw data. So everything is here. New vascularization and projection from the superficial or deep capillary process. You see, when we switch to superficial or inner retina, they share the same pattern. So that's how we can identify whether it is real vessel inside our retina or projection from the superficial layer. But we have with the software, we have the ability to remove this artifact automatically. Well, not 100%, but you see, the one on left is new vascularization with motion, not motion, the project artifact. And on the right, when we turn on the remove artifact radio check box, the default setting is on. So default setting is on. Unless you turn it off, you can see these artifacts. Usually these artifacts will be projected on the RPE layers. But with our software, the outer retina include the RPE layer. So it is important to keep the remote artifact on so we can get a clear view of the outer retina and identify those new vascularization in our retina. Okay, here's some other factor need our attention. Optic head, nerve head, and you see some of the area is relatively dark in big vessels. Does it ring a bell to you? Dr. N? Dr. N showed a case of cornea, right? I think that's perhaps the same story. In some of the cases, like this, perhaps it is because of the velocity of the flow is too strong, so the signal gets saturized. For some of the cases like this, I believe the reason we get black signal is more of the direction of the flow. It's walking perpendicular to the surface of the optic nerve head. So perhaps that's the reason we don't get the signal from here. Because it is sensitive to horizontal movement, but not sensitive to vertical movement. It's the same story in the choroid. Of course, there were multiple factors, not only because of the flow velocity, but also some other factors. The RPE or choroid capillary masked the signal of the OCT A, so that's why sometimes even in the heterocephalar layer, we get dark signal instead of bright signal. It should look bright in OCT A, but in heterocephalar layer, usually we get dark signal, unless it's like GA, we get the bright signal. So, but when we look at the structural on-face image, it looks pretty identical. Okay, here is a practice. Here on the left is a case from FA, showed the neovasculation and some other capillary network. But with the angio OCT, you see there's a black band over here. Do you have any idea what happened with this angio OCT scan? What caused this black band inside the OCT angiography? Have an idea? I can show you the B scan. Now we have the answer. It's not from blink. Usually blink walk through the image. So it is straight line, so it is definitely artifact. There's no straight line in nature, so it is artifact. But what caused artifact? Not blink, not the motion, eye movement because of the saccade. Actually, this artifact comes from the segmentation. See, it walk through inside retina superficial looks good, but walk into the vitreous instead of the retina. So that's why we get the black band over here. So because there's no flow inside vitreous, so it is totally dark. So that's how we can identify what caused the problem. But the patient has left. Is it possible we do the scan again? No. But how can we resolve the problem? Actually, I have two solutions for us. The first solution is we can get into the software and modify the boundary. I moved the boundary from the algorithm from vitreous, go back into the retina, into the correct position. Of course, a black band like this width usually consists of maybe 30 or more than 30 slides. So with the previous software, we had to do these slides, modify these slides one by one. It's a very tough job. And with the latest software, it's getting better. We can modify a couple of them, and the algorithm will take care of the rest of the slides. So anyway, it's very precise, and but time consuming. So it is a perfect way for someone pursued perfection. If your zodiac is Virgo, but I have a second solution for you. This is how I do if we don't have time to modify the slides one by one. Okay, usually I switch to some other segmentation, like this. What I prefer is the Corey cap, because Corey cap always follow the bush membrane and the reference plane of the RPE and fit the boundary of the retina and the choroid. Then I adjust the thickness. I just make it thicker, because the default setting of the choroid capillary is only 30 micron. It cannot cover all inside the retina, but I adjust thickness, make it thicker, then adjust the depth, move it from the choroid into the retina. Okay? And then, let's take a look. Now we have the visual of the small capillary network. It's coming back. It's very fast. We don't have to modify the boundary slice by slice, and we can get instant view. We move upward, we get the new visual of the scan vessel patterns. And there's no reprocessing needed with this solution. So that's how we make the best or fastest way to make the visual better. And the next topic is about our new measurement tool. It's called angioanalytics. We have some new amazing features with angioanalytics. First one is OCT A overlay. So some of the speakers have showed OCT A overlay to you. So with the latest software, we have a radio check box over here. It's called OCT A overlay. When we turn it on, now we have the red signals overlapped on the B scan. And these red signals come from the declaration value. So you can appreciate some small red ones inside the retina, and some more red signals inside the choroid capillaries. And we can switch it off by click here, single click over the OCT A overlay, so the overlay is removed. I think it's useful for users who have no idea with small lesions. For example, here's a B scan with a couple of PEDs, right? For example, here, the one on the left and the one on the right. Who has the idea which PED has the choroid neovascularization? It's hard to tell, right? But when we switch the OCT A on, now we have the idea. One of the PED is black, totally black. There's no signal, no motion contrast from on the left hand, but on the right one, full of the red signal. But be careful. Sometimes direct signal could be coming from the projection. Like, for example, the red signal over here inside the retina, there's a projection on the RPE, right? But this one, there's no vessel above. So we can say, okay, this is a neovascularization. So one signal over here and no signal on the left. And another feature is montage of angel flow. With this software, we can put two images together. I'm sorry to tell you, but there's only two images, not all the retina scan, not available right now, but at least we can put angel retina with angel disc 6x6 plus 6x6. Of course, we need to take a wide field scan as a reference plane. So we can put these two scans overlap on the wide field MCT scan, so we can get a wider view, cover both macular and disc. Of course, we can switch to from grayscale to color-coded. Different color means different layer. So that's our definition of the color. Green, if you find some green vessels, that means these vessels coming from the vitreous. And white is from superficial, purple, deep. And the yellow means inside the retina, and red inside the choroid. Thanks to Dr. Wang, it's a very nice image of the CNV. Let's take a look. Okay, green, there's no green vessel, means no vessel in the vitreous. Okay, blue, white is superficial. Now we are going deeper inside deep capillary plexus, it's purple, and we move further deeper. Now we have the neovascularization. Then even deeper inside the choroid, it's red. Then we come back, the neovascularization in the outer retina, and then into the deep capillary plexus. I just pause over here. Okay. Now, isn't it amazing? You see, above the yellow is the purple one, deep capillary plexus, and beneath the purple vessels, that's vessels inside the outer retina. So it gives us the volume rendering view. It's kind of like a three-dimensional perspective. Very nice image. And the next feature is the flow area. With the flow area, it provides the possibility to evaluate and follow-up, monitor the patient not only with image, but also with values. Before treatment, for example, 1.3 millimeter square, and after treatment, 0.45 or, yeah. So it's a powerful tool to monitor the diseases. How we get the measurement tool? It's easy. We just click the measure and choose flow, and we put the circle into the position we have interest. Then, of course, we can change the size of the circle by dragging the circle boundary of the circle, or move the circle by dragging the center of the circle. That's one option. The other option is we can draw a contour by ourselves manually, like this. One click, we choose contour, then single click, and finish by double click. Now we have two numbers. One is the area of the select area, the area of the circle, or the area we draw by ourselves. And the second value is flow area. That's area of the flow inside the circle or boundary we draw. Of course, we need to click Save Measurement if we want to save the data. Because whenever we switch to other segmentation or we adjust the thickness, each time we adjust the thickness or depth, the value is cleared because the appearance of the flow is different. So we need to make sure save measurement if you want to save the data. That's one exception is when we have the remove artifact, turn it on or off. The value is still there, but the value will be updated because with artifact projection could be more flow inside here. So that's the only exception. See? So right now we support one area of interest only, and we need to make sure we click the Save Measurement. And safe measurement button only save the current displayed on pass layer. So one layer, one measurement right now so far. The second interesting feature is non-flow area. To detect the area with no flow, for example, I click measurement and I choose non-flow. Then it's easy to use. I just single click into the dark zone. For example, I click into the FAZ. The yellow mask will be terminated automatically, follow the boundary of the vessel. Then give us the number of the non-flow area in millimeter square. Of course, we can take multiple scans. Take multiple clicks like this. The second, the third, as many as we want. The number will be added up over here. Right now, the current version doesn't support area editing. And the last one measurement tool is the density. With the latest software officially released, I'm sorry to tell you, it's only Retina density available right now. We are working on this density. We will have it released maybe months later. But so far, we have Retina density. Just like this. We click the density and we get into the density report. Within the density report, there is an ETDOS chart over here. The size of the ring is fixed. The inner ring is 1 millimeter and the outer ring is 2.5. And we have a table over here. There are two columns. The one on the left is the thickness. The one on the right is density. So thickness in micron and density in percentage, different value. And here is a grid. We call it 3 by 3. It divides into 9 grids. So give us the number in 9 positions. For example, if Optovue is much lower density compared with the peripheral area because it's FAZ including in this area. Of course, we can move the circle. If we just find that the position of the Optovue is not that correct, we can click on the center of the circle and move the circle into correct areas, and the data will be upgraded immediately. And make sure we click Save Measurement whenever we change the setting of the depth, thickness, or position of the circle. So far, with the officially commercialized release, we support 3 by 3 and 6 by 6 millimeter. And the density tool works only for superficial and deep. So flow measurement and non-flow, all layers, but density only superficial and deep. So generally, we need to set different offset layer for individual scans. And whenever we adjust the layer, no matter it is offset, depth or thickness, the number will be cleared. So we make sure we click the save button. All right. Okay. Now here's a small investigation. I believe all of you are using smartphone, right? How many of you using iPhone from Apple? Yeah. How about Android system? Yeah. And Nokia? Anybody use Nokia? Well, great, thank you. Why do you choose an iPhone or Android for Nokia? Nokia used to be a giant in cell phone market, right? But today, very few people is using Nokia. Most of people go to iPhone or Android. Why? The hardware? Actually, the hardware of Nokia is so good. We used to take Nokia as a self-defense weapon, strong as a brick, right? And but today nobody uses Nokia, not because of hardware, because I believe it's because of the software. That's the power of the software or algorithm. Just same in the OCT market. Right now we have the very similar hardware configuration: the spectrometer, line camera, mainboard, high-speed computer, but the software is totally different. The algorithm is different. SADA is algorithm. Actually, Optovue dedicates in OCT only. So we have a lot of software. For example, ganglion cell complex (GCC), or ETM (epithelial secant map), or cornea power (TCP), and SADA, MCT. All of these, they are software, right? And that's the power of the software. So I remember yesterday one doctor asked which OCT should be his choice when he chose the OCT from so many manufacturers. My answer is I'm not telling that Optovue is the best choice, but always try to look into the commercialized device with best software and algorithm. Thank you. And right now, I'd like to show the demo, live demo machine with the device. We are going to put the device, project the screen into the big one, and show how we can get a very nice, good, qualified image with correct operation. And patient registration is the same as the previous version. We just go into the patient and input the name and last name, birthday. Then get into the scan level.
Should I do it one time or just
Yeah, just one. And we take first is the Optovue Retina, because that's not the correct interface, because the resolution is lower of the projector is lower than our device, so that's why we get the overlap of the interface, some of the interface. So we take one scan of the Retina, one scan of the disc, and one scan of the wide view. 3 scans. Okay. So, okay. This is the Retina scan, and to perform Retina scan, we need to ask patient to sit put and lean his forehead against the breast, and aim at the pupil, center of the pupil. Look at the window on.
Sorry, I'm gonna shut the software. I think the video is just. Let me reset it.
Okay. Yeah. The first step is always look into the infrared window. Do not look into the B-scan window on the top. The first is the infrared on the bottom left. Make sure you're aiming at the center of the pupil and pushing until you get a clear view of infrared. Very common mistake from a technician who operated the machine is they look at the B-scan window instead of the infrared. Can we do this, please? Try to make mistake. Look into the B-scan and not the window on the bottom. So sometimes for ametropic eyes, usually or myopia eyes, you get the B scan first, and you don't have the clear view of the infrared. But in that case, the signal of the OCT A is not optimized. So we can ignore the image in the B scan window. We just look at the infrared. Make sure there's no halo or shadow inside the infrared. Just like this, it's a perfect. Can we move a little bit offside?
Offset?
Yeah, just like this. Yeah, see the halo over here aside is not correct. So make sure the infrared on the bottom left is clear as possible. Then in that case, you might not have the visual of B scan on the top right. Then you click Auto All button. Yeah, over here, Auto All. The software will take care of the auto focusing, auto alignment of the distance, and everything. So just wait until the software finish the auto focus. Now you have a nice view on 3 windows. The one of the infrared, the one of the B scan, and make sure the cross section of B scan is in between of 2 red lines, the one on top and the one on bottom. Inside, yeah, just like this. You can push forward or backward to make it happen, or you can change the depth by scroll the wheel. Like a single click in the B scan window, you can scroll the mouse wheel, and you can adjust the depth of the position of the retina. Then, okay, this scan, angio scan from Optovue, takes about 3 scans for 1 set, 3 seconds for one set. So you need to make sure the patient do not move in 3 seconds. So usually what I do is I ask patient to relax before the activation, and ask patient to blink. Then ask him not to blink, and count the second for him.
Blink your eyes.
Yeah, blink.
Okay.
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Okay, finish. But that's good, right? But do not take the second scan. Okay, we need 2 scans, 1 horizontal. Actually, we have the angio OCT already with the first set. Why do we need the second set? It's for motion correction. So even without the second scan, still we can get angio OCT, and this image looks good. But take a close look at here. Right? That's the motion effect. And actually, there are hundreds of the thin lines, very thin lines like this. See, straight lines. These coming from the motion effect. Very small minus, but still there. Usually, we can put up with more than 1, 2, 3, 4, even 10 straight lines. Still, we can remove these artifacts from the second scan. Okay. The first thing is evaluate the horizontal scans. Make sure there's no blink. There's no way to correct the blink from the second scan. So make sure there's no blink. And okay, no, not too much horizontal lines. Okay, then we can click continue. Otherwise, we need to take rescan. And the same procedure. Make sure the window on the bottom left is good, and the window of the B scan is good. Ask patient to blink, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, finished. One tip: do not allow the patient to leave the chin rest in between of the 2 sets. So you can ask patient when you finish the first set, you can say you can relax, you can blink, whatever you want, but do not leave the chin rest. But because sometimes when patient leave the chin rest and back, the fixation is not the same as the previous one. Maybe in that case, MCT cannot work well with a case like this. So you can ask patient to relax, but do not leave. Now we have 2 sets. One horizontal, you see this straight line and many thin horizontal lines, and one vertical scan. we evaluate both scans, make sure both scan is not bad, then we can continue and save. So it says reducing motion artifacts. Please wait. So the algorithm is, the MCT algorithm is working. You see, it's gone. The motion artifact is gone.
He did take his head off the chin rest for the first scan to the second scan, so let's fingers crossed, hope it comes out. Yeah.
Okay, and now we get into review. It says 3 millimeter. We forget to change the size. Okay. Okay, this is the overview of the report. You see, the first superficial, deep, and upper retina and choroid. And then we exit the report, and we can into the unfast. We can switch layer by this single click from super to deep, outer, or choroid cap. Yeah. Now we switch back to superficial, please. Yes. And there's a radio check over here, no MCT. Let's take a look, what if we have no MCT? See, the image is not good. Noisy and disruption of the vessel, especially this one. But when we turn on the MCT, image looks way better. That's how MCT works, without tracking. So when we scan patient, there's no tracking. So the time is fixed, 3 seconds. So for healthy eye or patient, 3 seconds. And there's a little check called angel overlay. You can see here. Single click, you can have the oversee OCT A overlap. The ratio is not correct because the projector shares the different resolution. But anyway, you can find out the signal inside retina and the deep capillary vectors and the no signal in the upper retina. Not like CV cases, but some projection in RPE or ISOS. Right? This projection, because it's identical at the same position vertically, and more signal inside the choroid and choroid capillaries. And the measurement tool is over here. You click measure and you choose follow flow or no flow or density. The first is flow. Automatically it's a 2 millimeter diameter circle, and or we can choose contour. Maybe we can switch to some other. Okay, you just draw a boundary manually. Single click finish by double click. Okay, the number will appear over here. And the second measurement tool is non-flow. You click inside the phase Z. Just like this. You can take multiple scans. And the third one is density. As soon as you click density, the interface changes into the density report. On the right is the thickness and the density, and the grid density and density map. This is not thickness map. It looks like thickness map, but warm color indicates high flow, not the thick macula. Not like the thickness map we have with Retina map. So cold color indicates low flow, warm color means high flow or high density of flow. Okay, and okay, let's move back to the movie. Okay. That's a new label. It's called color overlay. You can do it manually or automatically. Manually just like this. Move the cursor like this. Switch from superficial to deep or outer layer or choroid like this. Or you can click play, and the algorithm will take over automatically and change the level. And then you can click record to save the video. Save the video you want. Okay. So different color means different layer. Now we get back to the scan. I think we should take a 6 millimeter scan. Yeah, it's the same with the. Okay.
I don't have. I can't select 6 mm.
Okay.
Because of the resolution.
What if you unplug the projector?
I can.
Yeah.
It's the resolution. I can't press the 6 mm button. So we'll just disconnect in a second. Okay, so should we connect it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shall I just do it?
Yep. Yes. Just take scan as fast as you can.
Push in, visualize the fundus, and then I'll tell the patient to look at the blue light, and while I'm doing the focusing.
That's the left eye. So it's the first time to scan eye, so we need to click Alt O. But when the second visit or second scan for the same eye, usually we don't need to click Alt O again. So Alt O for the first time scan.
Blink, blink, don't move. Alright, don't move. 3, 2, 1. Keep still. There's a bit of blinks.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
scan it again, okay? Try not to move, sir. Okay, so blink your eyes again. And then try to keep still now. 3, 2, 1. And stay there. I'm going to do it one more time. Very good. Once again. Look at the blue light and blink your eyes. Okay, try not to move now. 3, 2, 1, and done. Thank you. Sit back.
yeah. You see these vertical lines? It's okay, no problem. We can remove these artifacts. It's a very nice image. Now we take the disc scan for the same line. And the 6mm disc scan. Try again. With two 6mm scan, one for retina, one for disc, and one wide field, we can put two interflow images together with MOSAP.
Here we are. We're already at the disc.
So when we take a scan on disc, make sure the square is on the middle of on the center of the disc.
Try not to move now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Relax one more time.
And first step, good.
Again.
Into the second step.
Blink your eyes. Try not to blink. 2, 3, 2, 1, and done. Thank you.
Alright, good. And we save the measurement. And the last scan I will show you is the wide field.
I need to MCT as well.
Yeah. It's called 3D wide field. It covers about 12 by 9mm square and covers both macula and disc. It's a wide field scan. It's a very nice composition for colloid big vessels because we cannot image big vessels, for healthy eye with angio. But we can get the visual of these big vessels with structural advanced image, just like this one, wide field and CT scan. Okay, the three of the scan has been finished. Now we get into report, either retinal or disc. Into the overview report, yeah, there's a MOSAP montage like this. Yeah, just single click, we put two together, and we can switch to grayscale or switch to different layer. So it is very nice image, right? Okay, so that's all for the demonstration, and we have 3 units available today. One over here, 2 another device over there. We can do the hands-on training and practice. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I think before we sort of break up the group and you can still have time with the machines, I'm going to ask Dr. Colin Tan, just to help us to summarize what we've heard and seen over the last 2 days, and then I'll close just with a few words of thanks. Colin?
Thanks, Adrian. So, well, I think I hope everyone enjoyed your course over the last 2 days. Can't believe it's over already. It's a very fast 2 days. I think this is something, as we know, it's a new technology and there's a lot to learn. But what we've seen over the last 2 days is we've started off with the anatomy of the eye, normal anatomy, understanding of how what is actually the structure of the eye, and how this then appears on an OCT angiogram. And we then learned about how an OCT angiogram is formed and what are the limitations, the pitfalls, the artifacts. These are all important things to us as we begin to understand more and more of this. We also learned that there can be various projection artifacts and the need to adjust and to take into account the projection errors as well as the different segmentation slabs. We then went on to look at various conditions, retinal vascular conditions, AMD, PCV, and then of course the optic nerve. That was very interesting, and also the applications to the anterior segment. So all of these things give us a lot of opportunities. Some of them already have given us ideas on how we can apply these to conditions that we see in the clinic. Others, we know that we see something perhaps different, something new, but we still need to learn how to apply this knowledge and how this can be useful. But that's the exciting part of this, and I think eventually, together, we will learn this and we will continue to grow our knowledge. So please, everyone, continue to work on this, to use this, and let's see what we learn over the next few years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Just some simple housekeeping before we leave. First, please fill up your feedback forms and hand them on your way out to the counter, because the feedback will be very important for us, not just in planning for the next one, but also to see where we can improve. And we'd like to give that feedback also to our sponsors and to ISASO. The second is just to make sure that your certificates have your names correctly spelled. I know that we circulated this by email, but if there are any changes, please let us know so that we can send the correct certificate to you. All right. So it leads me now to thank a few groups of very important people. First of all, each and every one of you. I think no point having a workshop or a course or a module without an attentive audience, and I think you have been fantastic. You have kept awake, you have kept engaged with us, you have asked us questions, challenged us. So this is really what we like to see in an ISASO course and ISASO format. So thank you all of you for coming here and spending this weekend with us. The second is really the lecturers. I think you'll agree with me, our faculty has been fantastic. This is an emerging field, there are a lot of unanswered questions. Not easy to stand up there and present all these new data and new information, but you can agree with me, they have that zeal, that enthusiasm and passion. I hope each of you will now go back and recharge and try and look at how you can use the OCT A perhaps more in your practice. So I want to thank all the faculty. In turn, we had from France, Professor Michel Buch, also from his first time to Singapore, but not the last. Of course, our good friend Giovanni Sarangi, no stranger to Singapore, but thank you very much for sharing all this expertise. And from China, Professor Wang Min from Shanghai. So he's built up that wonderful experience, and I'm sure over the next few years you'll hear much more. The local faculty, we had Dr. Marcus Ang, Dr. Dan Millier, Claudine Pang, and Colin Tan. Please I want to especially thank my co-director, call it